name is Hope Tasirian. I'll be taking you through your job matching and mentorship sessions that occur every Thursday from 7 to 8 p.m. So, the point of this session is to help you interact with industry experts, to help you navigate the cybersecurity space, also help you put yourself out there. So, always feel free to engage with whoever we invite via LinkedIn or the official forums. Um, for those who accept mentees, feel free to ask if you can be a mentee to one of our mentors. So we hope this will give you a feel of the industry. We hope this will give you an avenue to network to those who are currently in the industry and also open your mind to possibilities on the kind of career choices you can have as someone in the cybersecurity space. So, with that said, I will go ahead and introduce today's topic and also our speaker for the day, for the night, that is. So today's topic is oh gosh, did I forget? Is an introduction to cybersecurity. So basically, getting to know the kind of career uh, platforms you have in the cybersecurity industry and what you can venture into. We are graced by one of our own, Brenda Kamangara. She is, among so many other things, we are proud to say she's an alumni of the Cyber Shuja program. She's currently working at Serianu as a senior risk consultant, and we are very proud to be part of her success story. So, Brenda, you can go ahead and give more introductions on yourself and take us through the session.
Sure. Thank you so much for that introduction, Hope. I hope everyone can hear me. You can kindly confirm if you can.
Yes, we can, but I don't know if it's on my side, but I feel like your volume is quite low.
Okay, is that a bit better?
Someone else can confirm. Maybe it's my device.
It's still a bit
No,
low.
yes, still a bit low. Okay, yes. You have a tendency to have very, very low mic now.
It's
Uh,
doable.
this one can work. Okay. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, lovely. So hi everyone. I am so excited to be here. It's such an honor to, I guess, be back after a while. So like Hope said, my name is Brenda Kamangara. I was in Cyber Shuja cohort 2, graduated. I honestly want to say November 2022. I might be wrong, but that was the date, I think. Yeah, and since then it's been quite a journey. Um, Yes, and now I work at Serianu and I work as a senior risk consultant. We can go into what that means as part of the talk. So we will be doing, I'll walk you through basically starting your career in cybersecurity. I can see Stephen already has his hands up. So Stephen, I guess hope you can manage that as I share my screen.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't take us through the normal procedure process of this. So normally our speaker starts us off, then you can open the session at the end of your speech or mentorship for questions. So I'll hold all questions until the end of the presentation, unless the hands that are up are because of a technical issue. Angela?
The speaker's mic is still a bit low. I don't know if it's just for me.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh,
How is
mhm.
that? I've added a bit more volume. Is that better? I hope it is.
Angela?
Now, I don't know if it's just for me. That's why I'm still I'm still struggling, but it's okay. It's doable.
Brenda, can we hear you
Okay,
one more
I've
time?
increased. Sure. So now I'm at max volume on my device. I don't know if that's any better. Is that
Yeah,
better?
yeah, that's definitely much better.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, lovely. I hope Angela you can still hear me. But if not, there'll be a recording and hopefully you can just increase the volume. Yeah, sorry for that. I have very, very old technology with me, which is a bit ironic given what I do for a living. So yeah. So hope if it's okay, we can get started.
Yes, we can. Uh,
I, okay, brilliant. So hi everyone again. So welcome to this talk. So we'll just be going over starting a career in cybersecurity. Um, it's a bit ironic considering you're already in Cyber Shuja, you've just graduated. At least for the people that I interviewed, because I did some of the Cyber Shuja interviews, most of you guys, I want to say about 90% of you guys have some sort of IT degree. So I'd say you're already on your way. So basically, think about this talk as a guidepost, something that you were exposed to very early on in your career. If this is a journey that you choose to continue with, if you choose to continue in cybersecurity, or whatever direction you choose to go, use it as some sort of guidepost in, I guess, where you'll go or how to shape your career. Because trust me, it's it's a very vast field. Um, so I put this picture up because if there's one thing I've learned about cybersecurity, and especially from my journey, there's no single way to get into cyber. Like I've mentioned, you guys are mostly IT grads. Um, of course, you're all in cyber shuja, so by the way, congratulations for that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the pathway that everyone uses to get in to the industry. Some people get in, they immediately graduate, and then they go into jobs. And some people, like me, non-IT grads, and we just end up in the field one way or another. So I just want to walk you through that kind of pathway and think through a bit of that. Yeah. I think there's someone's microphone that's on. It's a bit loud on my end. Right. So in terms of how to get into the door, so we've talked about there's no I'd say for cybersecurity, there's no one path fits all. So it's not like law or medicine where you have to go to med school or you have to go to law school, Kenya School of Law, and then you do the bar exam and then you pass and then you practice. Cybersecurity, I have literally heard about a guy who used to be a poker player, a professional poker player, like the ones you see on YouTube. He's now a security analyst. I know a librarian. There's me, who used to be in public policy and international relations. I now work in cyber. So people use all sorts of means. But the way I look at it is you can either do, as a beginner, I always advise do 2 out of 4. So use 2 out of 4 of these. So for you guys, you're so lucky you possibly have university. So you can do a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. I know people with doctorates. One of the biggest or one of the top companies in cybersecurity in Kenya is actually led by a guy who has a doctorate, and I think he's one of the coolest people ever. His name is Dr. Al. So you can even get to doctorate level. And usually the majors are around IT, computer science, networking, cybersecurity, digital forensics. So most people, if you want to get into cyber, this is probably where you're going to start if you're lucky. And then you can usually just apply for a job that way. The other thing I'd always say is have another thing beyond just this. So some people use now certifications or experiences, kind of like what you're doing right now. So targeted experiences. So you can either jump into capture the flags, or you can go into programs such as Cyber Shuja, or you can do events where people get to know you, and you get to present. And you can also join communities such as She Hacks, Africa Hackon, Google Developers, and Women Tech Makers. And all of these are actually present here in Kenya. So it's things that you can actually get out there, start to do, and you start to build up that kind of knowledge of what it is you want to do and exposure for jobs later. Um, Sorry. So a really interesting thing is some people actually pivot from jobs, which is how I ended up here. So there are people who change careers, and you can move from a sysadmin to a pen tester. I'm fairly certain, I don't know if he's in the room right now, but I interviewed someone who actually works very closely in, I think it was networks or databases. And I remember encouraging, going like, yeah, you can definitely do cyber shuja, just because the transition is so easy, and your experience feeds into so much of what we do in cybersecurity. So this is also another valid path. So don't worry if you finish cyber shuja and then you end up as a sysadmin because of your degree. You'll still pivot. If you end up as a data analyst or a business analyst, you'll still be able to pivot into cybersecurity. Trust me, one way or another. So always think about combining 2 out of these 4. And one other thing I'll say on this slide is as you progress in your career, um, So maybe after the first 2 years, you probably want to now do 3 out of 4. And then now when you get to advanced levels, 5 years plus, you want to do all of them. Because of course, when you're trying to get into senior management, now that's when you think about getting a master's or getting more certificates, the better certificates. These are just the beginner certificates. So think about it that way. Yeah. Oh, and one other thing I actually want to mention before I go on, I will share these slides because you guys can use it as a roadmap for your own career as you go on. Yeah. All right. So generally, so we've talked about cybersecurity, we've talked about how to get in, we've talked about the different methodologies, but okay, brilliant. So what do I do then? Um, so there's very many aspects of cyber. The way I put it is there's cybersecurity, if anything is a technology and if anything is in the digital space, it can be hacked and therefore cybersecurity is required. So think about blockchain, AI, cloud security, Teslas. I was actually reading about people who are taking apart Teslas. It's quite fun. AI right now, ChatGPT, a lot of people have been venturing into hacking ChatGPT. So anything that is in the tech space can be messed around with. And if someone is messing around with it, then we need cybersecurity people. However, that said, there's certain core aspects of cyber that you will see present in every single cybersecurity role. And so I've broken them down into some core basics. And the first one is offensive security. So I'd say this one is probably the most popular one. Offensive security is the one that everyone says, "Oh, I want to be a pen tester. I want to be a white hat. I want to be, red teamer." It's famous words that people throw around. This is offensive security. I call them the breakers. They're the guys who are trying to find creative ways around and within applications, systems, and networks. So I give you a mobile app. You can look at it and tell me how you can bypass the security to do X, or you tell me how you can do this and this and this. That is basically their day to day. It takes, so how I design these slides is it kind of, I'm trying to guess what kind of skill set it takes to become that kind of person. It requires a very strange mindset, to be honest, because you try and find the wrong way to do something or something that shouldn't be done, but that gives you an undue advantage. So, someone who loves puzzles, someone who loves a good challenge, someone who loves technology. And technology is big because, like I said, this is you can apply offensive security or blockchain security, I mean breaker security to anything. So think about it, ChatGPT. Everyone's crazy about ChatGPT. What would offensive security for ChatGPT look like? What would it look like for blockchain? There's ridiculous stuff going on in blockchain security just around offensive aspects of it. Um, so look at it that way. I've listed some cool personalities. These are people that I follow personally because this is one of the areas where I work. So James Kettle does some really interesting research, as well as Sam Curry, around web application security. But this is so much broader. There are people who are doing interesting offensive work for Tesla or hardware security. So there are people who are taking apart PlayStations. There are people who are taking apart, oh God, Ethereum chains to see if they can hack into crypto wallets. So offensive security is massive in its own space, and it's something that you can venture into if that's the kind of mindset you have. Um, and so some resources you can also try. So these are all free. Yes, they're all free for the most part. There's Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, Web Security Academy by Potsfigure, and CTFs. And the beauty of these four is at some point in Cybershuja, you will encounter them. So it's not something I'm quoting from I don't know where. You guys definitely try this if you're into it. But also, even if you're not, you might need it. You might need a little bit of it. It's not for everyone, but it's an option. All right. So, defensive security. So, defensive security is basically the opposite of that. So, it's a flip side. They're not necessarily the builders, they're the guys who are supposed to be watching out for the bad guys. They're watching out for the breakers. These guys, I find defensive security really interesting because you have to develop a mindset where you're always one step ahead of the bad guy. Um, because like people always say an attacker can use 1,000 different ways to attack an application, but they only need one to be successful. A defender has to think about every single one of those 1,000. So your mind has to be completely alert. And so you need things like quick reactionary skills, ability to process ridiculous amounts of data and logs, and the ability to understand offensive security and offensive breaker attack vectors. Um, So these are some really cool guys. I love the work that Kaspersky does in this space. But there's also some. I honestly I could have filled this slide with people who are doing amazing work here. So you guys can look at Great, Kaspersky's research team. They do a lot about malware analysis. They're constantly looking out at what are bad people doing out there and then doing really interesting write-ups to advise companies and countries on how to do better. Um, and some of the teams that I've seen that, some of the titles that you'll see in this space, SOC analyst, security analyst, threat intelligence analysts, and things like that. And these are things that you will also encounter in Cyber Shuja. Um, Again, the resources here, you'll see them in Hack the Box. They've just launched actually the Sherlock series. It's something that they're trying to do into encouraging blue teaming. Um, so defensive work is considered blue team and offensive work is considered red team. So Hack the Box hasn't necessarily always had blue team stuff, but now they do with Sherlock's. But Try Hack Me has a ridiculous amount of information for blue team. So definitely check them out. And of course, open for questions after this. All right. So another one that people don't really talk about, but it's actually very important. I consider it the foundational of everything. Um, these are the guys who think about protecting the organization as a whole. So they're not necessarily the defenders. They're the guys who are building the policies, the structures. They're talking to governments. They're making sure they've obeyed the laws. A good example here is when Nivas was breached. After all that drama for, oh my gosh, they lost the data, nini, nini. Like, I think a week later, a statement was brought from the Office of the Data Commissioner fining them a ridiculous amount of money. And I don't know how many people noticed that, but for the people around governance and enterprise, that was important because for us, now we understand okay, fine, they were fined because they breached an aspect of our laws in terms of data protection. They should have been watching out for that. Not only do you need to be defending your systems, you also need to be understanding what the laws say about what you have to be required to do, especially when it comes to data. So that was actually that was actually very painful on their part. But yeah, so that's governance and enterprise. It's a huge thing. You really need to have big picture thinking, a passion for regulation and research, and be able to understand both offensive and defensive positions for both your company as well as the industry. And I'd also say, to be honest, even the country and what the world is doing at large. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. Oh, there's someone has a mic open. Very loud.
Let's mute our mics. Okay. Brenda, sorry about that. You can go ahead. Hello. Am I the only one who can't hear her?
She's not audible.
Okay. Yeah.
Same.
She's on
Hello,
mute.
Brenda.
She's on mute.
Mm-hmm. Hello, Brenda. You're on mute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes. Hello.
Oh, lovely. Sorry, I don't know how that happened. Okay, where did I lose you? I've been talking to myself for like 2 minutes. Sorry.
You were discussing governance, the Naivas saga.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, that was okay. Yeah. So basically, in terms of NIVAS, so it's really important to always look at what legislation says. And there's now companies are now actually building entire teams to make sure that they're protected by what the law says and what the law says about what they have to do and the kind of data they should have and how to protect their clients. So this is becoming a really, really, really big field. And so I think in the next 3 to 5 years, Kenya will have a blow up about this. So it's also partly what I do, kind of, not really, but yeah, my work touches a bit on this. But we can also talk about my role a bit later. And so anyway, the guys I've compiled in terms of the entities to look out for is CISA. CISA is becoming one of the top resources in the world. It's by the US. and they post a lot of guidance on what companies should do and what countries should do in terms of protecting themselves and what regulation seems like. So you guys can definitely check out CISA. You can also check out NIST. There's also the ENISA, which is the EU version of CISA. Their website was down today. That's why I didn't link them. But generally, very cool people doing very cool things. Yeah. Oh, and also one other thing. Most people I've talked to who enter cyber within the first 5 years, they go like, I want to be the next CISO of this company, Chief Information Security Officer. Yeah, get to know this stuff. If you don't have strategic thinking, if you don't understand regulation, if you don't know how to talk to the boards and things like that, there's a lot of heaviness that comes with this role. It pays well, yes, but it's also a lot. So just have that in mind for anyone who's dreaming to become a CISO one day. All right. So this one is actually becoming one of my favorites. Secure architecture. So architecture spans so many different things. So we've talked about the guys who are breaking applications and systems, and we've talked about the guys who are defending them. These are the guys who are building the applications and systems. So it goes as much as the guy who is developing your mobile app. So let's say Facebook's security team, all the way to the guy who's designing the entire Facebook infrastructure. So it can go from architecture to system architecture to application architecture to enterprise architecture. It's huge. Um, and the person that I linked who's doing some really cool work here is actually Jailene Curie. Yeah. She has bounced around a lot. At the moment, she's with Microsoft. She's their cloud security something. But she has done some very, very interesting work in terms of DevSecOps, if you've heard the word DevSecOps. So look her up. She's amazing. So this is her Twitter link. I've also linked her write-ups here on DevSecOps. There is a ridiculous amount of information and stuff available for DevSecOps, as well as just thinking of how do you go from I'm a developer, my background is coding. I like to build apps, but here I am in Cyber Shuja. So what can I do? You can actually be the security guide for them. And that's such a powerful position because right now companies are now restructuring how they're developing their applications and systems to include security from the very get go. So you're not just tasked with building an application, you're tasked with thinking about security from the beginning all the way to the point where someone will now be paid to test it, the pen tester, at the very, very, very end. So it's valuable, it's huge, it's becoming the next big thing. So if you have a coding background, if you're interested in application development, if you're like me and you look at how different systems connect with each other and how an application an offensive person can break them, enterprise security, this is your space. It's a very, very fun space. I've linked a lot of resources here, so have fun. Yeah, enjoy. Okay, so the last large one that I see in just about every single possible industry is digital forensics and incident response. Do they always go together? Not necessarily. So forensics, these are the guys who try and figure out what went wrong. How did the breaker get in? Like at the end of the day, let's say now we're not just looking at the guy who's actually paid to take apart applications and then report them, because that's what an offensive person does. You're doing it for the right reasons. You're helping the company find out where the vulnerabilities are. This is where now for digital forensics, this is now a bad person, right? They've entered the system, they've taken it apart, they've stolen the money. Akina ransomware, Akina anonymous Sudan. Now, digital forensics and incidents response people are the guys who are trying to figure out how did it happen, where were the
I think we've lost Brenda. Francis, kindly mute your mic.
Just want you to know that.
Let's give her
Hello.
Hello, is
Hello.
there talking?
She's dropped off for a while. Let me see if we can solve whatever technical issue has occurred.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, yes, client. Yes, client. Yes.
Yes, Lois. So I think she's encountering a technical issue. Just before she gets back, I can share the screen on the slides, and then maybe some questions or clarifications we need so far. We can go through that before she comes back.
Okay, thanks.
known as Serian. I have a concern. Would you mind sharing the slides or emails or references and techniques?
Hello. Yeah, I hear you. Like Brenda had said earlier, I will share the slides via WhatsApp. I'm hoping we are all in the WhatsApp group because I don't have your emails. So I'll just share it on the WhatsApp community and then you can go through them. So yes, Aziz, I see a hand up.
I wanted to ask if possible for them to send the link in chats.
The link to what?
The WhatsApp group, I'm not in it.
Okay, so ideally you join the WhatsApp group via the LMS. You've not been onboarded on your LMS?
I have. Let me just do that. I did not know that's where you joined from. Thank you.
Yeah, it's there on the introduction. There's a place the links are attached to that and the Discord group.
Thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, but that's what I know. So yes, Lennox, your hand is up. Hi.
Okay, my question I wanted to ask Brenda, it was about Yara rules because I'm studying some Yara rules and some not and some C not rules. So from Kaspersky. So these Yara rules, is it good for the security analysts? That was the first question. Then the second question is, as a security analyst, what some of the things you should know or you should have in your hands to secure a job or an entry job.
Okay. Thanks, Lennox. I've written them down because unfortunately Brenda is not back, but I've just written them down just in case you won't be there when she comes back. We ask them.
Okay.
Someone, yes, someone.
Where's the WhatsApp link? I can't see in the LMS.
Those who've joined the WhatsApp group, have you joined it via the LMS? Just one person?
Yes.
For me, I joined through the email. The link was sent on the email.
Okay. Anyone who joined via the LMS?
I did. It's on the
I did
LMS.
too.
Yeah.
Which section now? Which section?
It's under my courses. And then you choose the networking course, you'll find it under welcome and onboarding.
Thank you. Aziz, I hope you see it.
Oh, I've seen.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Benjamin, I see a hand up.
Oh, sorry. I was answering him. I don't have a question.
Okay, thank you. Ogada Marinas. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. You can go ahead. You have a question?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, thank you. I was given login credentials for the LMS, but unfortunately they are not working. So I'd requested for a reset, but I've not gotten a response. So I don't know. Well, right now I cannot access my LMS portal. So I've not even joined the WhatsApp, and I don't know the official URL for LMS. Thank you.
Okay. So did you first go to the Cyber Shuja site and like register or sign up and then get an admission number and pass from the program director?
When I got the credentials, I tried to log in directly, but seemingly it was not working. So there's a place there where you are able you can try forgetting your passwords. I tried that one, but it was not working also. So I don't know whether I was on the right place or I was.
Okay.
I don't know. Yes.
So do this because I don't want to turn this into a technical session. Just in case you haven't been replied to by tomorrow, send a screenshot of what you're seeing on your LMS when you try to log in. And then if there's no response, call the Cyber Shuja number. I'll definitely pick up and follow up on that.
Okay, so thank you so much.
You're welcome. So I see Brenda is back. Brenda, you back? Okay. So let's give her a few more minutes. Let me pick
Hello?
Side. Oh, hi. Hello.
Oh, sorry. Hi, I'm back. But you can take
Okay.
the questions. Yeah,
Most of them are technical, so we'll just let you finish your presentation. Then after Brenda finishes her presentation, we get questions regarding the topic that is being presented today. And then afterwards, I can pick the Cyber Shuja technical questions kindly.
sure. Do you mind telling me where you lost because I had no idea I dropped off the call. I am so sorry. Where did I lose you?
Um, so you are on the last career section.
This one. There's so many
Just a
career
minute.
options.
Yeah, the last one. Sorry, I my screen is also giving me an issue. Someone kindly,
That's okay.
yeah.
If anyone could tell me, please.
You are on digital forensics and incident response.
That's where hang on. Okay. This one. Okay. Lovely. Yep. So this is digital forensics. Like I said, honestly, I have talked to myself this whole time. It's fine. I'll walk you through it. So digital forensics, it's basically the place where, it's basically CSI 101. So definitely use this resource. I plugged it in because it is a massive trove. You can use it to get started on literally every aspect of DFIR. Very, very helpful. And this is a field that is very useful for anyone who's very interested in, like, how did something happen or how did that crime happen? So feel free to look into it. Hack the Box is very good for this as well. And there's also DFIR training and DFIR Diva. Those are also really good. So like I said, we'll share the screen. I mean, sorry, we'll share the slides and then you guys can just follow along with those links. Right. So in terms of just a general overview, like I mentioned, there are so many different career options, and a lot of those pillars that I mentioned apply to all of these. So there are people who are playing breaker roles, builder roles, defense roles within blockchain. Now use that to think about all of these others, right? There are guys who are doing the same thing in AI, the guys who are doing the same thing in hardware security, research, IoT, cloud, data privacy, and entrepreneurship. And a lot of these you will also encounter within your current course in Cyber Shuja. So definitely um, take a bit of an interest in a lot of these. See if whatever gravitates to you and just follow it. Like there's nothing wrong with it. For this one, I put other because literally I couldn't fit this slide with every single possible avenue. There's 5G tech. There's guys who are taking apart PlayStation. There are guys who are taking apart so many other aspects. So definitely keep looking. Um, yeah, the world is your oyster when it comes to cyber. It's very, very vast. You can use it quite a bit. And of course, in center, I've put entrepreneurship because a very interesting aspect is you can use malware, like you can take something that, let's say, okay, today I was reading about, let's say, the founder of Kaspersky. And how he started is he found a defense way of removing malware from his computer. He got so good at it that he managed to create a company that we now know as Kaspersky. So you can actually find a way to create businesses just out of any of these, any number of a combination of the four that I shared earlier, plus this. It the world is your oyster. Seriously, it's a giant career option. Um, Okay. So in terms of what keeps you in the field, so you've already entered the field, you've studied, you're done, you're happy, maybe you've gotten your first job, or maybe you're even job hunting. What keeps you in cybersecurity? I'd say it's these three things. So you want to be able to self-learn, keep teaching yourself, keep learning. Don't just rely on what you picked up in uni. Learning is about more than just that. Like, I was so impressed with the guys that I interviewed, some of whom had like certificates from Akina Google and Coursera. Keep learning. Stuff like that is amazing. You're always going to be ahead of the game, and you're always going to be fresh. Like, your knowledge of the tech is also always going to be very fresh. Stay curious. Technology is always growing, so always, always, always ask and be engaged with the field. So show up to events, meet new people, do stuff on, oh God, sorry, do stuff online or in person. Just basically be present and be up to date. Because again, technology is growing. Utapitwa na wakati if you're missing stuff out there. Yep. So my final thought is don't just practice your art, but force your way into its secrets, for it and knowledge can raise men to the divine. And the basic point there is make sure that at any point in time, you're pushing yourself to the absolute best version of yourself that you can do. Because cybersecurity, as much as it's vast, and yes, people join it for very many different reasons, including there's so many jobs and, there's an opportunity. It's in the mastery and the perfection of the art that you find that your career becomes something almost magical, to be honest. You're able to create very cool things if you just absolutely dedicate yourself and apply yourself. Yeah, so that's that. That was it. I'm done. Yeah, I was basically almost at the end, Hope, so I'm handing over back to you.
Okay. Thank you, Brenda. That was amazing. So I'll now take questions, or Brenda will now take questions. So I see a hand. I don't know why my screen is misbehaving. I had seen a hand from Peter. Just yeah, you can just unmute and ask your question.
Hello, good evening to all of you. Thank you very much. So, Brenda, there has been, okay, I don't know whether it is very true. Blockchain, they were saying that blockchain is very, very secure and blockchain can be hacked and blah, 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 blah. So, is it also like in that field of blockchain, is it a giant still? No.
Okay, I'll try and answer that. I hope I've understood it correctly, but that's a really good question. Thanks, Peter. So yeah, you're right. In the sense of blockchain, the way it was envisioned by Satoshi Nakamoto in his paper, it's relatively secure. The concept of the blockchain is secure, relatively, based on the technology that we have as at that time. However, the things that we are now seeing in the industry that are insecure are the things that have been built on top of the blockchain. So people have come up with Web3 applications. Those are not necessarily the most secure things in the world. Some of them are building with speed, which then means that some holes are being met. Another aspect that I've seen has been very, very risky is the wallets. The wallets that are being used to store the coins have had several vulnerabilities in my experience. And also, the third one is social engineering. People these days, if for some reason you were breached and the email address that you were using happened to have been on a database that is linked to cryptocurrency, you will see those emails for like, hey, Abu, click on this link to check if your wallet is secure. That's called social engineering. It's called phishing, and a lot of people are losing coins to that. So there's some aspects that are insecure, but this is not to say that the blockchain concept, as it was envisioned by Satoshi, is insecure as it is. It was actually well done, but I always say technology is only secure up to the point at which technology was at that time. I feel like when we get into quantum computing, when computing gets to a speed that is almost blinding, things will start to go wrong because of our reliance on cryptography, and things like that. So, yeah, it's relatively secure, but there've been holes that have been discovered. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Dana.
Okay,
Thank you,
so
Brenda.
thank you, Peter, for that question. Just to add on that, you can check the 2020 Twitter hack. Then we can take Elias.
Hello everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. I have a question for Brenda, and maybe Hope can also look into that. It's more of a general question because most of the people on this platform right now, I know maybe they are IT graduates, computer science, and such like. So you find yourself in a tussle with the market because you don't know which direction to take. When you talk about specialization, like now we are learning about security. Now you don't know where to go. Is it security? Is it administration? Is it development? So Brenda, what can be your word on that? And then again, how can you keep improving about that? Yes, that's all.
That's okay. Thank you so much for that question. It's really, really cool. So actually you've brought up something that I forgot to mention. Thanks. So I'd advise for beginners, something I did when I was starting out is explore. So use your time right now in Cyber Shuja and also just the methodologies I've shown you about exploring, stay curious, the resources I've given you. Try as many fields as possible. I kid you not. When I started out, I took an internship somewhere where I tried a bit of forensics. I tried a bit of defensive. Or there was no offensive available at the time. I tried the communication public policy aspect. Try absolutely everything. And what that will do is it'll expose you to the things that you naturally gravitate towards, because I believe everyone gravitates towards something. You cannot possibly be good at everything. One, you just have natural talents, and two, your natural interests. So I'd advise you at this point, if you're feeling that way, try everything. So if Neville is teaching you guys about forensics, you do all the forensics, go to the resources I gave you, try everything, see what guys on Twitter are saying about forensics, see if that's your thing, and then get out of that. Try something else, like learn about defense. Try that, see how that goes. If you're interested in offensive security, get into hack the box, hack a few boxes, see if how that makes you feel. If it makes you want to cry, it's not your field, and that's okay. There's something else out there. So explore as much as you possibly can, because I think that one, you build something that fits naturally towards you. Yeah, I hope that helps, because that's how I did it. I hope back to you.
Yeah. So Elias, I hope you're answered. Your question was answered.
Yes, Hope, my question was well answered. I appreciate.
Okay, thank you. So any other questions? Yes, Ogada.
Yes, thank you, thank you, Hope. Yeah, once again, good evening. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. First, I want to thank Brenda for the good presentation. But I have just just one question. In most of the times, we've heard of quite a number of incidences happening, like uh, the hacking incidents, just to be precise. But all the same, we also have ethical hacking as well. But in perception of many people, you realize that they take cybersecurity as a
Ogada, you muted your mic. Hello. Okay, so as Ogada rephrases his question, Lennox, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I had already asked my question, then you had noted down. You told me that you'll ask Brenda on my behalf, but I think you have forgotten. Let me ask it once again.
Yes, kindly ask it.
Okay, I had asked that, Madam Brenda, what about, because on my side I'm specializing in security, being a security analyst, but I'm doing a bit in Yara rules from Kaspersky as well as not. Then is it good for a security analyst as well as a security analyst? What some of things should I focus on most? That's the second question. The third and the final question: what does it lead to data breaches? Because even I had some institution where I am, it has been involved in data breaches. So, what things always make some these data breaches to occur, and how to defend them? If I say like a security analyst, what measures I can put so that the data breaches cannot be occur? And if data breaches has been occur, we say like not only passwords, like IDs, like say staff numbers. So you need to change everything, or what things are supposed to do, like personal details things. Okay, thank you.
Hi, Lennox. Those were very, very good questions. Thank you. I will do my best to answer every single one. So if you're already doing Yara rules with Kaspersky, that's actually really good. You're ahead of the game. So I'd say keep going, and keep exploring more. I think there's more Yara rules by other teams. Honestly, I've forgotten a bit of my training in terms of security analyst, but I would say you're definitely in the right direction. Um, so keep going, keep looking at the different resources I've already shared. And I'll also tie in with the second question. So your focus in terms of security analyst, I would say, and actually also ties to your third question, be thinking about the defensive standpoint. So with a security analyst, if I'm not wrong, you're probably looking at a lot of the monitoring, a lot of seeing what's happening in the environment, and trying to think about reporting them just as it's happening or prior so that you warn an organization. I'm not sure if that is what you do in your job, but if it's what you're doing in terms of cyber shuja, that's definitely what the job is. So your focus really should be around thinking around what would you advise in terms of defense standpoints. So it ties in very well to your third question. I can see you've unmuted. You wanted to say something?
Okay, thank you. I'm noted getting a job. I just recently finished my course. I'm just handing some internships and even some entry jobs. So even if you can have one, it can be good on my side. But that one for the data breaches, I haven't understood it. If you can elaborate it, it can be well good. I can repeat that question so that you can understand it on your side.
No, that's okay. I've already written it down. No worries. Okay.
Okay,
So
thank you.
in terms of, yeah, that's okay. So in terms of data breaches, what causes it? In Kenya, I'd say about 60 to 80%, and that's being very generous with my assessment. Data breaches are usually caused by ransomware and ransomware attacks. So that is where ransomware groups attack an organization, lock out their data, and then they demand a ransom. If the data, I mean, if the ransom is not paid in time, that data is released to the dark web. And then from the dark web, it then spreads across the internet. And that is where we see it on Twitter and things like that. So I'd say very rarely are people like a normal attacker just going and leaking terabytes of data. Usually it's data breaches caused by ransomware. However, there are some sporadic incidents where you can see like a malicious attacker does it. So that's the cause aspect. So how do you defend against it? Ransomware usually, hey, ransomware right now it's an enterprise. At this point, it's a criminal enterprise. People are doing it for money. Um, and the way they are able to do it is they send certain very, very well coded pieces of, viruses or malware into a system. How are they able to enter the system? If you haven't patched your system, if your system is not updated, if you're still using Windows 7, if you're still using outdated software, anything can hack you, right? And if the malware is coded to look for Windows 7 computers across Kenya, it'll find you. Um, what about people who are clicking on phishing emails? If you're on your work computer, don't be clicking on, you know, dodgy emails from personal. Don't be logging into your personal email on your work computer. Rule number one. Rule number two, don't go to dodgy websites because you'll be sent for weird links. If you click on the weird links, you don't know what it's dropping into your machine. Things like that. So make sure you're always up to date. Make sure you have the best malware and antivirus systems on your machine at all times. Um, Things like that can definitely help be the stopgap before that malware attaches to your machine. When it has happened and you need, let's say, from a security analyst standpoint, so if you're the people who are thinking about, architectures and things like that, encrypt the data that you have. If you're holding customer data and you're leading an organization, encrypt it. Or if you don't have to have it, don't keep it. Don't have people's IDs. Don't have people's birth dates, phone numbers. You know how we are funky with our data, by the way. These days, when you enter a building, you're signing a document with your full name, your phone number, your national ID. You don't have to do that, right? Don't have that data. So those are for people who are designing the systems themselves. But for someone who has encountered a breach, change your password, change your email if you don't have to have it, things like that. So just always be careful and think about security from all angles. I hope that answers your question, Lennox.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Cause where I am, I got some of that breaches. Even on my side, I have it, but I cannot say that organization. I am able to get it, but so I may go and advise that organization. So for that, okay, thank you very much. Then
You're
we'll
welcome.
continue talking, even if we can have a forum where that a secret analyst we come with a certain restriction to the organization's machines so that those things can end up. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Lennox. I'm sorry to hear that, but you're welcome.
Thank you, Lennox. I think the next one was Rose. Rose, are you on the call?
Yeah, yes. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Brenda, thank you for the presentation. So my question is about staying updated with the current threats, especially in Kenya. I've noticed that, I'm not sure, but correct me if I'm wrong. It's like we don't really document what is going on. It usually like until something is like a trend, that's when you get to know about it. So how do you keep yourself updated with the threats happening in Kenya? Because there's a lot of like articles on things that are happening outside that are not necessarily in relation to the tech we have here.
Hi, Rose. That is an amazing question. Thank you so much for that. And actually, you're correct. The Office of the Data Commissioner was actually complaining a few weeks ago that Kenyan don't release data. Even when we are breached, we don't talk about it. So in terms of staying up to date, I unfortunately have a bit of an unfair advantage. I am part of a cybersecurity organization. We both generate our own data because we have a 24/7 SOC, so we are able to see a lot of what is happening. But also we do have a bit of industry collaboration. However, that said, if you personally want to stay up to date and you guys as Cyber Shuja want to stay up to date on what's going on, I would encourage you to start looking into those forums I was mentioning. Um, get into the Kenya Computer CSFA. There's a forensics association that is always taking members. I'm not sure how much they charge, but it shouldn't be that expensive. Get into forums like that, get into She Hacks, get into places where you link up with people who, kind of like me, are accessing data because we will automatically share it. So that would be my advice for Euros, as well as anyone else who's interested in knowing what's actually, what's the finger on the pulse. Because I'll tell you, there are associations and we're constantly sharing data, but it's still siloed. It's not everywhere. So like there's Kenya Bankers Association, they're doing their thing. There's us guys. There's telecoms with Akina Safaricom. And so how we come together is when now the people who work in those organizations go into forums such as Africa Hack On or She Hacks or B-Sides or things where we now have to talk about what's going on. because that's where the security industry is meeting. That's where the data comes through, and that's where the conversations happen. So I'd say definitely stay engaged. That could be one way to do it. But we have a lot of work to do in that space. Thanks for bringing that up, Rose.
Yeah, thank you too.
Okay, so I saw Samasharya. Samasharya, are you still on the call?
Yes, I am. Good evening, everyone. Kindly confirm that.
Yes, you are.
All right. Now, in the course of my interaction with the security analysis platform, I've come to notice that we do have several softwares, from the FTP scans to the Nmaps, the port scans. I'm sure the list is endless. Now, my point of concern is, to what extent are we highly dependent on such developed applications? Do we have situations in real time whereby you're able to sit down, maybe come up with a script, either in C or Python or JavaScript, depending on the platform that you're using? What I'm just trying to simulate is our dependencies on the platform, and how much can be done with or without such applications. Thank you.
Yep. I hope I'll answer, and then if it wasn't satisfactory, I guess you can also answer as well, because you have more intimate knowledge about the platform. So Sam, okay, so I'll answer from a twofold perspective. One, from my day-to-day life, because I have to use some of these tools, and just generally thinking about how you should map your career. I'll say you definitely hit the nail on the head. I would advise anyone who's getting into this field, especially if you're trying to get into offensive and yeah, let's talk about offensive because I'm not entirely certain what it looks like defensively. Um, do not rely on your tools. Things break. You might get flagged by firewalls. Things happen. Things happen all the time. So Sam is right. Get good at scripting. I script my own tools. I use Python primarily, and Bash. Actually, I prefer Bash, just because it's faster. So get good at scripting. Get good at understanding what your tools do and why they do it, and then be able to then replicate what it is you need to do them. Sam, I will tell you, use what you have at the moment to understand what the tool is doing. So Nmap is very good at figuring out what ports are open, and it has very many ways of doing that. But I can say, I think three other tools that can do the same thing. There are some that are very noisy, there's some that are not good, there's some that are very stealthy, so you can use it as an alternative. And then there's sometimes when maybe you're not able to port scan directly, so you can use a different methodology to do it. So use what you've been given as a way to understand why it's valuable in that context, and then figure out how get good at it enough that you're able to figure out, okay, if I don't have this, if I have one hand tied to my back, how else can I do this? And that's where the scripting comes in, and that's where the thinking on your feet comes in. So for me, I use alternatives. I use alternative applications. So, for example, sorry, I'll give you a real life example that I encountered recently. I have been working on a client, and they have very many defensive standpoints. So they're using very many defensive tools. And so my attack vector for the web was using Nmap. And I wanted to figure out which applications were listening to the internet, like, listening on the default TCP ports, so AT443. This thing flagged me within 2 minutes. Like I just on my phone, and I was like, oh crap, I've been seen. I've been spotted. And so as an attacker, usually then that just means your attack has failed, but you still have to generate a report. So what do you do? So for me, rather than now go and script on the fly for a report that I have to do in 2 weeks, I found a very creative alternative. There's another tool that's on GitHub somewhere, and I've used it in a different context, but it was able to still do that purpose when I tweaked it slightly. And so learning how to do that both shows a mastery of your skill and also mastery of your tool set. So I like your line of thinking, Sam. Keep going, and I can't wait to see what you end up doing because that line of thinking will take you very, very far. So, yeah, that's it.
I think
Right.
Brenda, you've answered that one quite well. Uh, Sam, are you fine?
Yes, I'm good. I really like the perspective, and it's really an eye opener or not expected ahead. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So, Ak, is Ak still on the call? Okay. So, Lawi,
Good evening.
okay,
Good
good evening.
evening. Um, on my side, at first I'm delighted with Sam's question because almost came closer to similar question. Now I'll jump to the other one which has not yet been asked. How does Kenyan organization take gray hackers, the hackers which hack into companies without an evil intent, and then later report and then forward the report to organization, yet they are not yet been authorized by the organizations to do so. And in Kenya, what does the law state about hackers carrying out activities which have not yet been legalized directly without harming, like still the same gray hackers which have hacked, they are not yet employed by the organization, they have not yet gotten an initialization by the organization to do so, or try to review the systems of the organization, but they do them and then file a report to the organization free will. That is my first question. Second, on the part of OSINT, for example, you are an individual who is focusing more on OSINT. What advice would you give an individual when taking the pathway to develop a career into the OSINT part? I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lavi. You have asked two very hard questions. So I'll start with the first one. Um, in terms of grey hat hacking, I will say, so I come from the school of thought of just don't do it. Honestly, don't do it. We have the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act. I haven't read it recently, but I happen to know the agency that is in charge of enforcing it, and they're not nice people. I will not lie to you. The Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, you guys go for it. It was designed in 2018. It is remarkably strict in terms of what you can and cannot do. But in terms of misuse, you will get like there's definitely jail time. And this is Kenya. Our jails are not nice. Like, to be honest, you don't want to end up in jail. So if you can, just don't go testing other people's sites unless you have permission. So don't do it. Don't get tempted to do it. If you see your friend doing it, don't do it. The people who are in charge of looking into it are NC4. I keep forgetting what their name is, but they're literally N and then for, oh yeah, National Computer and Cybercrime Coordination Committee. Uh, I will tell you, they have a military background. Don't mess with them. Seriously, don't mess with it. It's not worth it. Like, yes, an organization will be happy, but what were you doing testing it, right? The only time I will tell you you can do that is, for example, if you're using the site as a regular user, and then you happen to come across something that you shouldn't have come across. Let's say it's leaking other people's information, or let's say it's doing something. Instead of reporting it to the organization, in fact, go report it to the Communications Authority. They have a cybersecurity division. Report it to them. It's online. It should be, wow, what is their name? Okay, I'll give it to Hope and then we'll figure out how to send it to you. So there's the Communications Authority of Kenya. They have a cybersecurity division. Their job is to also monitor the Kenya cyberspace, report it to them. They have a web portal. You can report it. You can literally even call them if you have to, if it's serious enough. And then NC4 usually reports, I think, breaches or something like that. So both of them have some sort of reporting aspect. So you can talk to them. Yeah, and those guys, the government guys, will be responsible for then telling the organization. Once you do that, it's out of your hands. But don't do it. Usijitole. It's not worth it. I cannot emphasize that enough. I don't want to hear you guys went to jail because you took what I taught you and then you went and did things. Don't. It's not worth it. But if you come across something that shouldn't be there, then yes, report that. But don't do it because you were testing for it. Okay, I hope I've made that clear. In terms of OSINT, yes, you can design a career in OSINT. There's actually so much you can do in that area. You can have a very fascinating research aspect to it. You can build tooling around it and then commercialize that. There's so many avenues to get into OSINT. I didn't really touch on OSINT, sorry. I think it falls into that other bracket I was talking about. But OSINT falls into, for everyone who doesn't know, so it's just open source intelligence. So it's just going on the web and finding out information about things. So it also falls within the four categories. Breakers use OSINT to figure out more about the people they're looking into. And defense looks at OSINT to figure out what attackers are trying to do. So, yep, OSINT is absolutely valuable. Go for it. Yeah, definitely. But please, please do not attempt gray hat. Not in this country, not in the United States of America. That's even worse. Not in China, not in Russia. There are certain countries just don't. Like, I don't even know if there's a country out of 196 of us where it is okay to attempt to go out of scope and just go testing someone's system. It doesn't go well. Trust me, it does not go well. I have had reports of people being arrested touching down in the airport of the United States because of something he did when he was 13. Don't do it. It's not worth it. So don't. Okay. I hope I've made that clear. Don't. Okay. That's it. I'm done.
So just to add on that, to Lawi, just like Brenda is saying, don't do it. There are a lot of, let me say, backdoor stories where, oh, someone hacked into Safaricom as a grey hacker, they get employed. It's just a bunch of stories. The thing is, if it's not under contract, it's a crime. You're not supposed to do it unless you're doing it on their bug bounty platforms. So if you're using their bug bounty platform and you're authorized to find these bugs, well and good. But if you're not under contract, simply don't do it. Okay. So, Lawi, I hope your questions are answered.
I'm delighted on that part because, I believe the individuals who we are here, some of us may be tempted to try and utilize the skills to test the effectiveness before being employed. That's why I have asked the question. Thank you for the clarification. I'm grateful.